Hello everybody and welcome to a very special episode of Pro and Noob and ... And today, two of the dots are both from Capcom themselves, two community managers that we're very lucky to have. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. I guess we'll do a little introduction for ourselves for those who don't recognize
Who are you?
Yes, so I'm Jonno. I'm the EMEA community manager for Monster Hunter, and over in the other corner there is...
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Joe. I'm the Capcom USA community manager on Monster Hunter, and I work very closely with Jonno on all things Monster Hunter, and thanks so much guys for having us.
Yeah, you should recognize both of them from all the stuff we've been covering in regards to both PAX and Gamescom. The panel that happened with Joe, and then we had Jonno on a lot of the stage stuff at Gamescom. I was physically there, and I was in the line watching you on the stage. It was really cool. Basically, I tried to play, and it was a 6-hour queue. We got an hour in, and I was like, oh, never mind, I don't have time.
Oh, you should have grabbed me. I would have got you a fast pass.
Yeah, we did. Oh, God, we tried.
Yeah, I was message him find Jonno, find him.
I had it was a 4-hour slot, and it was right as you were starting the I think you were doing it between 12 and 2.
Yeah.
It was literally then, and I was like, it is what it is. I'm not going to lose my mind over it, but it was a shame to miss you. But yeah, so you should recognize both of them from running lots of things. We have lots of questions today. Obviously, there's a lot of topics, and I'm sure we'll talk as best we can, but there are stuff that we'll be unable to go super in-depth into for obvious reasons. But Josh, if you want to kick us off on anything.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, just want to say that you've both done a fantastic job at both events, both Gamescom and PAX. And
it was really unique.
We obviously love the Monster Hunter community, and a big part of the community is the manager. So just kudos to you both is the place to start here, because it is really cool. I mean, obviously the big thing is just how much you both obviously like and play and know Monster Hunter. Yeah, because it happens all too frequently that we have CMs they're the lovely people, great at what they do, but they don't actually kind of know the game that well because they don't technically need to. But with you two, you're just fantastic hunters, so that's a really cool thing to see and to know.
Thanks. I think we try. We still have our fair share of cards, but no, yeah, Joe and I are both massive Monster Hunter nerds. I've been playing since 3U.
Yeah, you were both fans before you were CMs, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think we are really fortunate to work on a brand that is so consistent, has had so many great games just throughout the years. So it's pretty easy to be a fan of it. It's it's not like we have to force anything, right? It's we love the games, we love the franchise.
Yeah. One thing,
it's a pleasure to work on.
You want to say, obviously, this is called Pro and Noob, and that's because eventually, once Wilds is out, it will involve Cotton, who's not here right now because he literally doesn't know anything past the reveal trailer, which I think you two might find quite amusing. It's hard out here for him. So
it's like a time capsule.
Yeah, he is like a living time capsule. I can't wait for him to react to so many things we know. So while he's not here physically, he is here in spirit.
In every episode, yeah.
That's nice, Martin.
Now back into the cave.
Get back in your barrier. I'm sure there is lots of things that he would love to ask, because obviously he's really sad that he can't be here. But he's not like he's just got my partner to write a question on a piece of paper and just hand it to me out of nowhere or anything. What are the chances? Oh my god, that's crazy. Why does Capcom no longer like to ramble us? Cotton, you can't just act.
Vote.
Oh my god!
Yeah. You've seen the community poll, right? Don't blame us.
He's
They're
so
misclicking. They're all misclicking.
The only brute not in 5th gen onwards. But yeah, all right. Let's start properly now. I've had my fun. What was it like, Gamescom, and being obviously so literally behind the scenes and seeing everything happen and all the people, and it was just massive?
Yeah, I think it was really exciting. I mean, first of all, I was very lucky that Joe was holding the fort while I got to gallivant around Germany. So, Joe had all the really hard stuff to do while I was, hey, I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds. How's things going, Joe? So, no, it was really fun, and I think it's always a privilege to go out there and physically meet the community and see the community. Like as you guys mentioned, like the queues were 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah,
for Monster Hunter
ridiculous.
Wilds, from like half an hour in every day.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute privilege to see that and be among the community who are coming to see that. And you know, the dev team, we obviously had Ryozo-san, Fujioka-san, and Tokoto-san there. And they loved it as well. Seeing the community being in that atmosphere, it really does mean a lot to the team. And I think, you know, as you said, being on stage and sharing new details about Wilds was incredibly fun. These kind of gameplay bits, locations, and things like that. It was a privilege and it was a pleasure. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. But yeah, the community, the cosplayers, the creators that came over, it all made it really, really special. And then obviously getting 4 awards, which was between judge and community vote, was incredible. And say the team loved that as well. So no, it was really good.
Yeah, I love seeing the memes that were like, we were nominated for 3 awards, but somehow we got 4.
Yeah.
And just to speak on Gamescom, you know, I wasn't able to make it this year. I really wanted to be there, but just some personal stuff coming from making it that far trip to Germany. But we did have some local media events that were happening in the US at the same time as Gamescom. So it was also cool to see on our side, like having people get hands-on for the first time, and it was obviously like a much smaller event, but like just getting those immediate reactions while all this stuff was happening in Germany as well. And then what was happening with the streams too was that the devs were so excited and so amped up.
Yeah, it's so cool seeing how hyped they are constantly.
Yeah,
it's so great.
Yeah. And they were just like revealing things that I didn't know they were going to reveal.
He's like, wait a minute.
Jonno didn't know they were going to do either.
Is that on the approval list?
Yeah, so there were things that Jonno would tell me like seconds before he's like going on stage. He's like, hey, they're going to show this. I'm like, huh? Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great point. And like the bit that caught me and Joe off guard was obviously on the last day, at the end of the last stream, Tokoto-san showed off underwater.
Yeah, that was a huge deal.
Yeah, I didn't even know that area existed. So, you know, and I've been like hammering out the build to like get good, get familiar with everything as much as I can, and yeah, you know, that was a wonderful surprise. That kind of like, you know, reaction that I had there, and I think that Joe was probably having back home, was 100% genuine. I was like, what are we going to see here? And everything. And for those wondering, obviously, you know, this is not underwater combat. It's exploration and resource gathering. But yeah, it was incredible to see the hunter kind of move in through the water, being controlled by
I mean, it's so pretty down there as well. Like, it's so well done. It was so funny.
I was like, hold on, what's this?
It's so funny because that happened, and obviously whenever anything happens in Monster Hunter, I get like 75 million notifications from people like tweeting me or messaging me. So I looked at my phone, and there was about 7 different underwater combats coming back, and I was like, I don't... I'm not sure that would just be kind of casually
If you watch that stream for a
revealed.
millisecond, it was like within 30 seconds of you seeing that underwater that it was like confirmed, no combat, by the way. It couldn't be clearer.
I don't know, man. You fire your little
people
hook and grab
somehow-
things. That's a bit violent. Is it...
Yeah.
While we're actually touched on that, is it like auto, you just go through it and you can't stop, or can you choose how long you spend down there?
From what I was seeing there, it's basically, you know, Tokoto-san was sat underwater, you know, looking around, gathering materials. So it's not like in World,
So it doesn't force you out.
where you kind of go under and up. Yeah, it's not like an on the
it's
rails.
less static.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, there was obviously lots of things to collect down there and fishes and stuff, but it does bode well to see any underwater mechanic again after so long, but...
Just the sad Legicrus in the corner.
Yeah, I think it's more reasonable to see that as like, oh, well, the function's there, who knows what might happen in the future, but right now, it's obvious, and you clarified it right away. I imagine throughout all of those live streams and whatnot, you've had to bounce around a lot of topics like this. Like, you must have like an alarm at this point for when a feature's shown, and you're like, well, now I need to say this.
Deconfirms more than...
Yeah, deconfirming.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the team are wonderful. You know, the team are excited, as Joe said, to show stuff off in a live environment in a very organic and community-first way. And they're also keen as well not to send the community on the wrong direction. So if something's shown, it's important it's clarified, because we want to make sure everyone's on the same track as us enjoying it, and we don't set up a false expectation for how something behaves, which I think is a really cool way to do it. And also for many people as well, they've seen Ryozo-san fishing, for example, was a first, or the barrel bowling.
Yeah, the barrel
like
bowling
that.
is so good.
So I think it's a fun experience.
I still like the community would ever overanalyze something and come to the wrong conclusion.
No.
That would never happen.
No one would do that.
No one would do that, especially not making like 20-minute long
No.
videos about doing that exact same thing. That's crazy. Look, I've asked everyone this. I think in this case there might be some bias, but I'll still do it. Do you think Wilds is going to be the best Monster Hunter game ever?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, obviously, everybody's favorite Monster Hunter game is sometimes like their first one, just because it's like
it is one of those kind of series.
Yeah, nostalgia kind of like drives, I think, a lot of that, or like maybe like who you're playing with, or who you're around at the time, or like what life experience you're having. I think for Wilds, like what's interesting is just how ambitious the game is. I think
really
for sure. Yeah, I think the team has really gone for this like significant evolution. They haven't really just like sat on their laurels and been like, we're gonna make another Monster Hunter game, we're gonna refresh the roster with new monsters, and we're good to go. They really like sat down, they looked at it, they're like, how do we take the franchise to the next level, how do we evolve things, and I think it'll be a really fresh experience for people, even though it is a 20-year long franchise, so it still has that core DNA, but it's going to have so many new things. Yeah.
It's come across pretty hard, and when I played myself, that's the thing that we noticed the most, is to talk with other creators about it. It's like whether you think visually it's super separated from world or not, mechanically it just is. Like the weather system and how that takes up the physical space. That's cool. Impressive technology. Or the talk you told me about, Josh, with the Leviathan like model, getting that working compared to the struggles with World to get that to work, and seeing Balahara like constrict its way around terrain. That stuff is really impressive.
Yeah, I think, as Joe said, to kind of build on that, the whole thing of this being a seamless world and a seamless experience isn't just like a marketing term.
Yeah.
It's how the game is playing, and I think Gamescom was a great example, and PAX, of seeing that in action, because it's one thing us telling you it's going to be something, but then when players experience them for themselves, and that's why, sometimes when I've been chatting to the community and stuff, people look at the jump between generations and World, and then there's a big leap, and then you can kind of say this is with World to Wilds, that jump is once again happening, but not necessarily in the way they think, but in how the whole game plays, and evolving the franchise. But I think it's something that is incredibly exciting, whether, as Joe said, you're a series veteran or you're someone that's never played a Monster Hunter, with all of the kind of onboarding features, a huge focus on an engaging story that you're going to want to kind of play through to find out. So yeah, I think this is probably the best time ever if you're not already to get into Monster Hunter.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, any time's the best time to get into Monster Hunter.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah, I think it's something that's super important for us, not just like, obviously like as Capcom, but like as fans of the franchise too, is like we want this franchise to be relevant for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And, part of that is bringing new people in. We're really hoping that this is like a game that's not only, a great onboarding point and experience for new players, but also like for the existing fan base. Obviously, like you come in and you think this is an amazing Monster Hunter experience, but then for the new players, maybe they might be more casual player, or maybe it's like their first time playing, that they can come in, they experience like a really great campaign, maybe they stick around for all the end game, and move on to playing like all of the additional content. Like that's something that we're hoping for. But if somebody wants to come in and have a great just like campaign experience and enjoy the story, and then maybe they move on to the next game, we hope that's a great experience for them too. So
yeah. I mean,
generally, kind of just like a great experience for all types of players.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter's definitely been evolving into you actually have a meaningful narrative throughout your quest, as opposed to way back in the day where it's just kill things, which was really fun, but it's nice to see it. Obviously, the 4th gen with the whole Magala storyline kind of tested the waters, and then World onwards just really ramped it up, and it looks like Wilds is taking that to even another level entirely. with all the extra NPCs, the villages, the locals, this mysterious boy that we don't know what's going to happen with. There's definitely a lot of seeds being lain there. And I can't wait to blame it all on the flagship and then find out it was secretly the Elder Dragon at the end of the game.
I think like another thing that's important is we really don't want that to come at the expense of the existing experience. And I think, like,
of course.
People will hear a story and they're like, "Oh, it's not what I want from Monster Hunter," but it's like, no, we want to have our cake and eat it too. So I mean, I think this is a game where I think we have potentially done that. So hopefully, people will see that as they get to
Yeah. In terms of seeing like the mechanical changes, something that we were trying to understand from little footage and everything is, say, when you complete a quest, you've got the new overlay and everything, and now you start a new quest, and all these systems where it seems like, oh, I can just run up to that monster and start a quest by hitting it, like that's seamless, as we were saying. But there was a point in one of the Gamescom dev streams where we're looking at this long list of monsters, and they have different star levels, and now we saw, say, the same monster with a different star level, like almost like it's got a different set health and maybe damage. I'm very interested to see how that evolves into endgame. Obviously, we can't talk about what's the new endgame system, guys.
Oh, that was the next question.
Whoa, no! But it's laying a lot of very interesting foundations to see how the game can last or have that longer lifespan beyond just the story, let's say. I'm very interested to find out more about what's going on with that, but I know it's something we're not going to be able to talk about. So, Josh, I wanted to talk about weapons, but if there's anything you want to talk about before then, just let me know.
Yeah, I think the one big thing is obviously you guys know what's going to happen before it happens. So you've played the build that we got to play.
Yeah, not
before.
in general, by the way. We don't have the power of foresight.
No, you. Yeah, just like I know.
I know what you're gonna ask.
Tell me, what's Ryozo-san thinking right now? But of course, you had to play around with the build that we got to, and then it came to Gamescom, and it's like for the first time, everyone's going to see this. Is like exciting, or maybe even a little bit nervous, or it's about to happen for the first time, and it's awesome because you've played it. But that initial like, what's everyone's response to this going to be? Looking at social media's replies and people in the stream and everything, like, is there always that little bit of a moment of, okay, of course they like it. All right, lovely.
Like from my side, I think, whilst we don't physically create the game, we're very, very close to the process, and we work incredibly closely with the devs. And, as you said, Joe and I adore Monster Hunter. We love it, and that's why we're here. And so I was like, oh my god, I was like, people are going to love it. The game's awesome. This feels great. Despite being a very early preview kind of slice, it's very early preview put together specifically for physical events, and people loved it. And so you always get nervous when I wonder how people are going to react, but just seeing the responses and people queuing up multiple times, over multiple days shows that. So you want people to love it, you want people to enjoy like you have. And I think as we're fans, you get excited for other people because you're like, oh man,
that's the thing. You
so
have the ultimate experience of that.
You
get to just hold it yourself for a while and then explodes onto everywhere, and it's like, I can't imagine.
But also, it's a good time to kind of, because obviously with that as well comes the expectation from the community that when we demonstrate it ourselves, we do it of a standard that they would expect, and so they can learn and gather. So it's because it's all very well Joe and I knowing things, but then it's up to us. Our responsibility, our mantle of responsibility, is to demonstrate the game as community managers as best we can, to answer questions and to show the gameplay that our existing community really want to see. I guess would you agree, Joe?
Yeah. So just going back to your first point, I mean, we get to see a lot of stuff pretty early, and we've been working on the game for a long time. Obviously, we, like Jonno mentioned, we don't develop the game, but we have been on the campaign for quite a while. So there does come a point where you become it's easy to become a little desensitized to some of the stuff you're seeing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And sometimes I think that's true of any game, and every campaign that I've worked on is that over time you kind of turn off the fan lens a little bit because you are looking at it from that kind of perspective. But I think the cool thing about Monster Hunter is I think that fan part for us always comes out, and we always really feel that excitement for everything. But you know, like anybody that's like working on something so closely, I think is always going to be like the most critical of their thing, you know. And you're just like, oh well, that thing wasn't perfect, or like I wish we had done this, or blah blah blah. But yeah, every time like we do something, I think like seeing the response is always like it's so overwhelmingly positive.
I can imagine that, like from that perspective, like how when you're thinking about seeing something again and again, you're thinking out the perspective how we can talk about this or have a reveal or whatever it's going to be. How can we work with this? But I imagine when you sit down to play that early build, you know, just to see something, you get to just kind of play Monster Hunter for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing you kind of like. I think you can forget when you're working in the industry.
That's what
like,
I mean.
Yeah, it's like you're seeing things on like paper, or you're just watching trailers, or you're watching things that are like very early, so it can become like, oh well, like what is a real game? Like what does it actually feel to sit down and play? And then you play it, and you're just like, oh okay, well yeah, this is amazing.
It's funny that as soon as you get hands on with something for like 2 seconds, you know whether it's going to be like, oh this is going to be big or not. It's funny. And with Wilds, as soon as you're moving around in that world, there's just something about it.
Yeah.
And just like I remember the first time playing World, because of that was obviously a massive step forward too. I was wondering, maybe you can't comment on it, but in terms of being prepared for, say, doing the live streams and doing gameplay and stuff, showing certain weapons and what you're going to show, how much preparation did you have?
I think that's a fair question. I mean, for us, you know, I went down to the office for a day, and I just played the build for a whole day, locked myself in a room, and then when I got to Gamescom, I played a bit, and it's great because, you know, up there with the team, and they've all been obviously playing the game a lot more than us, kind of thing, because, you know, they're physically making it, and we just had a ton of fun with it, really, you know. It was all very organic, you know. We didn't have Tokudo-san led the kind of gameplay structure, but we weren't like, right, at 5 minutes you're going to go here.
Okay.
We just went in, and what happened. And I think that was like kind of testament to what we had in that build. But yeah, Joe and I, as soon as our opportunity comes up, you know we're on that build.
I think that's a real strength in it, because I feel like you almost don't need to like script it out beat for beat. Like you see in a lot of gameplay previews, it's like sterilized. It's almost comical.
Yes,
like even the comms are like lines no one would actually say to each other. They're just really weird. Whereas with Monster Hunter, especially now with Wilds, everyone's hunt played out so differently that you probably could have literally just done anything and it would have been a really cool experience. Like more than any other Monster Hunter I've seen, the way all the pieces on the map interact with each other, the other monsters, the environment, like it creates such a memorable experience, even if you're doing the same hunt for the same monster. And that's something Monster has always been good at, but I feel like Wilds is really turning that up to 11 from everything at least I've seen so far.
Yeah,
sure.
After you, Joe, sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, even the devs, like, so the way the monsters behave, and like kind of, you know, to be kind of like the AI kind of setup is, the monsters aren't just on rails. They kind of have their behaviors and things like that. So across all the different events we've gone to, the developers were surprised at how the monsters behaved in the certain scenarios.
Wait, did we do that? Did we put that in?
Yeah. So like, you know, if the devs are surprised by how the monsters are behaving, you know, that's what creates these great moments. Because as you said, we're not like, right, well, Doshaguma's going to be crossing here in about 2.5 minutes. It's not like that, Paul. Like, I think there was one when Tokudo-san was streaming, and the Doshaguma and its like herd were like
just
awake
ran away
in the nest area when normally they're asleep in there or something. I think it was one of those two. And basically they were like, okay, well, they don't normally do this, you know, so this is a bit aggressive, this situation, and things like that. So yeah, the way the game is built and how the monsters behave will keep that experience fresh and organic. It won't be like, right, we're going to jump in and the monster will spawn here or here, and we're going to beeline here, because it could be wherever it wants, really.
Yeah, it was a similar thing at Summer Game Fest, because that was the first time. I mean, the game was even earlier then in terms of like where it was at. It was the first time that the game had been shown like to anybody, period, and it was behind closed doors. So the team was demoing it, and you know, they're trying to show off, like, you know, pretty much like a tour of like all the new features and stuff, because nobody has like seen any. And something that kept happening in a lot of the demos was that Ray Dow would just come in and just like destroy everything and like just take them off of like what the plan was. So the team just kind of had to like improvise and like figure out what to do in these like 25 to like 30 minute sessions. So that's like just part of like how the game is built. I think that makes it really interesting. It's pretty unpredictable, and yeah, versus like something that's scripted, like a cinematic thing where something scripted happens and they have to pretend to be like.
It's a different experience for people to talk about. For you, like in terms of press and information getting out there, that's great. But again, what we said before is it very clearly shows the genuine. These people know these games. They play the game because they have to adapt. They have to be capable of functioning the hunter in this situation to get things back on track in a reasonable time. Personally, when I played, my last 5 minutes were unironically chasing a doshaguma, which it was limping and it refused to stay in an area. It would just go to one area and then go, right, we're going to the next one. And I'm just doing nothing. I'm just chasing it. So it's a nightmare mode. But that is also a fun experience to talk about later, and that's fine. So in terms of the panel, Joe, I wanted to ask what that experience was like. Instead of, say, with us running like a live playing the game, running through these questions, what was that like to run?
It was really fun. I mean, like having Ryozo-san out there was so great. Just for everybody's like context, like it was not easy for him to get there.
I couldn't believe he went back to Japan prior, right?
Yeah. He was in Gamescom. He went back home to Osaka, and then the weather was quite bad. So he actually there was a time there where we weren't sure if he was going to make it out, and then he actually did manage to make it out, and he was at PAX for like maybe 3 days and then he came back home. So we were super appreciative to have him, and then just to have like the interplay on stage. Like we did have like a lot of things that we wanted to talk about, but it was super easy to like improvise and like bounce things off of him. I think it was so important for him to be there and to see the community like in person, right? Like to just see, I think our stage was like there was 2,000 people in the crowd, right?
Oh wow!
Most people were there for Monster Hunter, so it was super exciting to see, and I think he felt really energized by it. I know, like us as a team, like seeing that, we're like, wow, it's really
you're doing something right.
Yeah, and I mean, Jonno, I'm sure you felt the same way with like seeing all the excitement at Gamescom and like the super long lines. It's like it's such a like different experience to see it in person. Like, and you hear numbers and stuff about how many people are on there. Like we do like social media posts that get a lot of engagement, but it's like those are just numbers, right? But when you see the actual people, it's such a different thing.
I mean,
go on, Josh.
Okay. Just while we were on the panel, I just have to ask what it was like breaking everyone's hearts, deconfirming baby Pukei.
Yeah.
It was honestly. But to be fair, I love that it shows how obviously you're tuned in that went round and everyone's like, that's clearly a baby Pukei. That it got its whole section. Like it was just fantastic.
All the fan art.
Yeah, for sure. It was that. I think we tried to sneak in just like, being like showing that we're listening out there. We see what's going on, and the team is aware of what's going on. Like I think we had a question about Gemma also, which Ryozo-san answered, and he's like, "Yeah, we're very aware that she's really popular." And we kind of left it at that. So yeah, I love doing little things like that. Obviously, like deconfirming baby Pukei. It was something that needed to be done.
Yeah, it did. No, it did. It was getting out of control.
Yeah. I think we did it in a fun way, and then
it was fantastic.
Sacred a little bit.
Baby sacred, yeah.
And there's lots of cool endemic life in the game.
Oh, I love that so much. Like honestly, one of my favorite things about Monster Hunter is the ecology and lore of it, and just watching. And that was the thing World and Iceborne was best for, just sitting in a ghillie mantle and just watching the world go by. And it feels like Wilds is just even more of that.
100%.
Yeah, it does feel like
there's
if
some really cool stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does feel like if the team... Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, did you see in in the Windward Plains? So I didn't see it when it happened, but someone clipped a stream where basically we just finished fighting doshaguma, and there was one of the herbivore endemic life, and they had a baby with them. And we're like, oh, cute baby. Anyway, this crocodile-style endemic life runs in, snatches the baby, and drags it into the water. Like
I did not see that.
Yeah, and that's how like they're not just moving around and doing their own thing. Yeah, they engage with each other.
That's brilliant.
When I was like, there's some really cool. That's the kind of thing that the endemic life aren't just kind of following their own little lives and things like that. They will engage with each other if they come into contact with each other
Yeah.
in different ways. And then you've got the different seasons or kind of weather events and things that will determine the behavior and the type of endemic life and large monsters that are around.
Yeah.
So there's layers.
Yeah.
There's layers to this.
And we can
I'm
still
just excited
capture
for
them.
small monsters. I'm excited for small monsters to attack big monsters and not me all the time.
Yeah, all the raptors jumping on
So cool.
chatacabra is ridiculous.
Or chatacabra.
What has happened to chatacabra? How has he become this meme punching bag? I'm so sad. Like, he needs his image turned around. Tell me there's some
I know.
god tier variant chatacabra waiting to one shot everyone who comes close to him. The final boss.
He's just so goofy, you know.
He
when
is,
gets
I love
knocked
him, he's
over
so
from the
great.
Flash, he's like, whoa.
Yeah, that one screenshot of him just like, oh no.
Yeah. You know, as far as starting monsters go, I think he's one of the best.
I
Yeah,
think this is
I,
the best set
really-
of starting monsters.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they feel totally different in terms of their unique designs. They've really put a lot of love into them, and that's really nice to see, because sometimes these monsters can be, oh yeah, we're through them in the first hour or something, and then you never see them again, or mostly not. But the mechanics that you have, where we're seeing different like dipping of arms with chatacabra based in the area, and the reopening of wounds with doshaguma, these things are so much more in depth than we would ever expect from a starting set. And so yeah, this is 100% my favorite starting set.
Yeah, for sure.
Which of the new monsters we know about is your two favorites, and why is it Lala Barina?
You want to go first, John?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question because I like them all for different reasons. I mean, but to pick a favorite would be quite tricky. But like, I really like. The more I fought doshaguma, the more I liked it because I thought as an early game monster, it actually provides you a nice challenge that isn't insurmountable, and there are ways to make the hunt more in your favor, or you can kind of go at it at a more traditional sense. So I actually found doshaguma really, really satisfying and fun to hunt all of the time as well. I like the others too, but I think doshaguma as kind of a monster that kind of will help people progress in skill and kind of get the fundamental mechanics down. I find it very fun how it attacks. It's different kind of danger states. It can be in a pack or it can be alone. And you know, especially as someone that uses a weapon that can guard, it was great to kind of, you know, use that against the monster. Also, I like how kind of balahara demonstrates the way it can manipulate the environment, with like the sand whirlpools, and how that can impact yourself and other large monsters. But yeah, no, it's hard for me to pick just two because I think they all bring something new to the table. And now that sounds very corporate, kind of. Yeah,
I love all of them equally.
Exactly. I don't know about Joe, how Joe kind of sits on
Oh, they're terrible. Chatacabra though.
Oh man. Well, I mean, it's not a starting monster, but I think Ray Dow is going to be. A favorite.
Yeah, he's a special.
Yeah.
He's a special
Yeah,
monster. What
the
a
sound
design.
design?
Yeah, I've just listened to a pure clip of how he sounds, and it's so well done.
Yeah, it's
I do-
unique. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's like
Yeah.
it's like metal scraping on the floor or something. Or like,
I've said
yeah.
space whale.
Yeah.
I do feel bad
Yeah.
for Astalos though, just looking at this incredible lightning flying wyvern. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. I see how it is.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting when we do like another monster poll or something. Like see. Like,
Yeah, that's a
all
really
the-
good point.
Yeah.
Have either of you beaten Ray Dow?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I
'Cause
actually
I-
have not. I actually ran out of time, but I did do it after I was doing another hunt. So
Okay,
I was
'cause
very close, and then I was like, "Oh, I have to go home. I have to go like catch my."
Because yeah,
my ferry
95%
home,
of
otherwise I'm
everything
stuck.
I've seen of him is just smashing people, just kaying them
It
out of
does.
nowhere. Like
Yeah.
even Hollow couldn't beat him, and that's a rarity.
Couldn't beat me. You know, this concept we're giving where we're like, oh, you know, you just get to play and something happens and we adapt and stuff. Whereas, like I said, when I was recording and I had my girlfriend next to me with like a bullet points of this, then you need this, then you need this clip, then you need this. So I'm like ordering the path that I'm going, and I allowed myself about 7 minutes to fight Ray Dow.
And you couldn't
I,
even
the
get
fool
it
that
done.
I am,
Honestly.
the fool that I am was like, cool, this is going well, I'm having fun, this is a really cool monster, and then he goes up into the air and he's going to do like the big lightning beam, and I'm like, I'm the dual blades guy, I will just perfect evade this. So I get one shot, and then I try a second time because again my ego knows no bounds, and I get one shot again. So that was my raid owl. It went well for a bit, then definitely didn't. So I can't wait to fight him again. Yeah.
It's got like that specific thing to it when it charges up that like crazy railgun attack, where you might like it'll do it a few times and then it'll like kind of like charge up again and not actually like fire it. It's kind of paint. And that gets me every time I do the Superman dive, and I'm just like,
just on the floor.
Oh, this is awkward. And then as you're getting up, boom. Yeah, the little like bolt. They're not like supercharged, but there's like a triple like little tap attack that it does with it. That kept hitting me because I'm like staring and waiting for the big thing, and he's like just hazing me, bullying me. I thought it was quite cruel though that we didn't get any nullberries, and then Ray Dow's there.
I was going to get hit, you know.
Yeah, just don't get hit.
True. It is a skill issue I'm working on.
While we're on the subject of being kited by radar constantly, it's one thing that I've been asked to ask a lot is, what would you say on the general notion of Monster Hunter Wilds difficulty? Because it's kind of been a thing a little bit, like, and I think you can't judge it at all, obviously, off a little slice of demo. Every Monster Hunter demo has the easy introductory thing to get people into it, and then, hey, if you want, go beat Nergigante in the Wilds by Waste, like the base world one. But I just, your general thoughts on the overall difficulty of Monster Hunter Wilds.
That is an interesting question, and I think obviously what we're talking about is an incredibly small slice.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Even if you can call it a slice, a wafer thin
of
what's been shown.
A shaving of the top.
But difficulty is incredibly subjective.
Yeah, of course.
Between individuals and groups of gamers. And I think, obviously, as we know with Monster Hunter, when you say, for example, talking about World or Rise, you have low rank, high rank, and then you get master rank. Obviously, what we've seen kind of so far in Wilds, and what we can't delve too deep into, is obviously we've seen like star ratings for monsters and things like that. But talking specifically about what we know and what we've seen in front of us, obviously, you've got your hunter, you've got your palico. You can call in other players to help, or you can call in NPC support hunters to help. So, you know, there's this shared difficulty that you will be taking on as a player, but there are ways to adjust your experience. And I'm kind of being very selective in what I say, because I don't want to say make it easier or harder, because that's not the case. Because of how everyone approaches things. But if you're struggling a bit, or you just want some company because you prefer that experience and you're not playing online, you've got NPC support hunters, and the AI is designed to react to how you play. You put down a trap, they will come behind the trap and lure the monster in.
Yeah,
if the monster's
awesome.
Asleep, they won't wake it up. And you can, you know, adjust that as well. So I think the difficulty is there in a way to provide a satisfying experience for core players and new players alike. And if you are someone that's worried that you're not going to be able to get into the game because it could be difficult for you, there are options there to make it an enjoyable experience. And you know, you've also got more items you can use. You've got your traps and things. You know, I can't understate the support hunters. I love the follower feature in Sunbreak, so to see this come back was fantastic. I don't know, what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's really easy when you're, you know, following a new game and you know how like the previous games have played, and you see like new mechanics get introduced, stuff like focus mode. I think it's easy for people to jump like, oh, the hunters, like, they have so much more ability now, so that
that's one thing I want to jump on. The people that are worried about the opposite, like they're not worried it's going to be too hard. They're worried it's going to be too easy. Again, obviously they're rough words to use, but that kind of thing. And I do think there's an element of, you do get people that have got like 7,000 hours in 7 different Monster Hunter games going, I don't know, probably not going to get carted by doshaguma. It's like, yeah, you probably won't, but like we have no idea what's going to happen at the end of it.
I mean, if you want a challenge, just don't fight 3 of them at once.
You take your armor off,
don't
you know?
Don't heal.
Yeah, it's like, you know, think about like the Souls games, right? Like people have like who started with like Demon Souls, like they're saying like Elden Ring is too easy because you know, but they also have like a decade plus of now playing that exact type of game. Your brain is wired in a different way, your skill level is different.
But I appreciate what you're saying though in regards to like, you can modify the difficulty. If you don't want it to be too easy, you can do it your way, but also if you want to make it easier, here are these new features to help adjust, or like say, not necessarily make it easier, but take the heat off you so that you can learn maybe the moveset of the monster easier, that kind of thing. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and like outside of like some of the new features that have been added, like the seikret and focus mode and things, I think it's a new game, right? So it's like there's new things in it that it's not necessarily just like one-to-one experience versus like Monster Hunter World. Like you're like, oh, okay, if you just added all these mechanics to Monster Hunter World, that game's gonna be super easy. That's not the case. Like in Wilds, like you guys have played it, there's packs of monsters, like there's weather changes, like behavior is different, like things, like the whole kind of like flow of the hunt is a little bit different than it has been in the past. So I think like one thing I would say is that as like we start to show more and like you see different things, is that think of it as a new game. Like not everything is just going to be like one-to-one like from the previous game. I think like the flow of things are going to be different, the way that everything behaves is a little bit different, so it's not going to be like a walk in the park. Like there's
it just makes me think of like the herd mechanic, where it's like, hey, you can use the dung pod or like a lure pod and separate and all that, or you can't, and then you're just like this little non-alpha doshaguma's just constantly like, oh, you're going for that big hit? Hi.
I really want to full fight a herd all at once. It looks fantastic.
But that's the point, yeah.
And like what you said about like, you're an incredibly experienced Monster Hunter player as well, and Ray Dow was giving you trouble. When I said I beat it on my 5th attempt, directly trying to beat it, and I carted twice. And I've been playing since 3U. I'd been practicing against this monster specifically. So the challenge is there, and I think Joe raised a good point. Like focus mode, when we first revealed it but hadn't detailed it, there were concerns that this was some sort of crutch, when actually it's a great tool for new players to familiarize themselves with weapons, especially slower, harder hitting weapons where you're more likely to whiff. So they can learn these weapons, they can enjoy these weapons and get more into it. But on the other end of the scale, for experienced players, and you might have seen like Tokuda-san using it, he was using it to just quickly reposition.
Yeah, the little
things
micro
like
adjustments.
And take really... so the skill ceiling increases. So you've got this tool that brings in new players and helps them get in and enjoy the experience quicker, especially with more challenging weapons. By that I mean kind of you're more likely to miss because you hit less, kind of thing.
Look, just say great sword, okay? We're all thinking.
We're all thinking great sword, whereas, for players like us that are used to it, we have new tools to take our gameplay to the next level.
Yeah, exactly.
And with that as well, we saw that with Rise and Sunbreak. Some people were concerned that wirefall or wire bugs make the game too easy because you can get up, but the monsters were designed in a way that many of them can punish you.
I think everyone can sit here and remember all their carts to just wire falling into an attack.
Yeah. So as hunters and monsters are kind of these things, they're in line with each other. We get new tools, the monsters have new tools, and things like that. So it's and ultimately whether you play single player or multiplayer, you can kind of carve out your experience with Wilds.
I think first and foremost, like focus mode is super fun. Just like the flow of softening a weak point and then destroying the wounds. Like that new loop is extremely satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, the second
and like especially when you see the stagger back.
The second I saw you could turn while charging greatsword, I was like, yep, this is the best thing that's ever happened to Monster Hunter. Outside the fact I no longer have an excuse for missing, which is
that's the thing too.
Which isn't a shame. Yeah. And obviously, Joe,
that's the thing too. Is like everyone's like, they're like, I'm never gonna miss. Oh, you're still there.
Oh no, you do. You do. Yeah. I mean, I like it as a tool as well. Like, sure, you've got a wound, but it's like I love the idea of with dual blades, the like leaping up and going down the spine and everything. This can actually be like an evade tool. Like cool, I've opened a wound. I'm gonna save that for when I need it because the big attack's coming. Or with longsword leveling up. Like timing that intentionally. I love that. Like it's like adding a very subtle detail or depth rather to the fight and the timing of what you're doing and when. It's not just, as you said, like it's not just a thing that you do and it makes everything easier. It is a tool that you choose and how, and the skill ceiling, as you say, is very much there.
Yeah, because listen, if you're like me, really cool. you see the red mark and you're like, yep. And then you just go and you never damage, right? So like as you said, more patient players might be like, oh, I'll stick that around.
Perfect.
For now.
We've done
Whereas I'm like neuron activated and I'm like, stab, like focus strike.
Your eyes turn red. You're like,
I know what I must do.
Yeah, and like with as well, like stuff like the power clash as well. Like
they're so cool.
The community were blown away by. Joe, do you want to talk about power clash?
Right. Yeah. I mean, greatsword has the best one, so I think it's only fair.
which is funny because like greatsword user, I don't really block like.
Come on, we don't block.
And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's actually like a reason for me to block. Like, and now you can aim it with focus mode, which helps a little bit too. So it is so much more viable now. If you get kind of like that perfect guard, you get like that clash. It's very, it's a nice little power struggle. I love hitting that. It's just like the offset attack too. Like trying to hit these new attacks is pretty interesting.
The sound.
Oh yeah.
Yes, really.
Like honestly, the
metal,
even just watching it, the feedback of these new like mechanics is just oh my god.
Yeah, I really like the changes from Rise and Sunbreak in particular. Like we're folding in stuff from Sunbreak and Rise into Wilds in different ways. Obviously, some things have been lost, but I like that some of the weapons that ended up getting a lot of counters and it really worked for that gameplay. We have the offset now, which is like a higher skill counter in general. The timing of it is, say with a greatsword, I just couldn't get myself to land it if I was ever charging the attack. But if I just send it out freely, it's significantly easier to do. I didn't have any time with switch axe, but I would love to test that out. And not all weapons have it, but it's like the ones that would benefit and find it most satisfying, like the bigger hitters. It's a nice extra tool. But say with greatsword and countering, or guarding rather, it seems to start faster as well now, to encourage you to use it because it's more valuable. These are the subtle changes that you're going to feel when you play it that I feel don't come across on camera as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of subtle differences and little mechanical tweaks and things that you really feel while playing that's just impossible to get across in a trailer. So people look at it and they're like, oh, it's just that. But then when you're actually in it, it's like, oh, okay. Like tackling through an attack and getting to go straight into a true charge. Like that just
the
feels...
depth of the weapons has, again, increased, as it always does. But this is the stuff that we're excited for, and it's difficult because we want to talk about that. And as I was saying before we were started the conversation, some weapons, greatsword, got a lot of attention. At these events, we got a lot of greatsword footage. But some weapons just got significantly less. So I wanted to ask if that's something that you think about, say with this Tokyo show coming up, and I believe it's at Gamescom Asia next month. There's stuff coming up. When you're going into these, do you think about what should be shown or what should be given attention?
Well, if Ryozo-san is playing, it's all hammer.
So. It's a hammer.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can
him
do.
saying what
There's
the second weapon he would bring and it's
cry.
also hammer was just peak.
This is something that we think about quite a bit. Jonno and I don't play every single weapon, so our mastery is not quite there. But we do think about it, like when we have showings and things like that. If we can show off some other weapons, and things that people are interested in, also to show the variety. Some of it does come down to if we have a stream, are we going to be able to show it at the glory that it deserves with our skill levels? So it's something we think about too. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Ryozo-san obviously is hammer, and then you got Fujioka-san who is similar lance, and then obviously Tokuda-san knows all of the weapons. When we were doing the second stream each day at Gamescom, he was taking requests from chat and showing off, because he's keen to show off hunting horn, keen to show off the bowguns, these weapons that we'd said had got this extra love and things like that, and show off the ones that aren't always shown off on stage or that aren't our mains. And as Joe said, it's very important for us, not only are we learning a new game, but we're learning how our weapons that we're used to fit in this game. And as we demonstrate this to the community and a global audience, it's important for us that we understand what we're doing. So if I, for example, were to pick up the charge blade, there'd be a lot of unhappy people because they'd be like, oh, why aren't they, because I don't have the level of experience required to do charge blade at the same level as I would maybe sword and shield. Like bowgun, I'm much more comfortable with. Hunting horn, I'm more comfortable with, and things like that. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, we are very mindful of that, and we were mindful of that when the weapon videos were being put out for the first time, for example, and things like that. So yeah, no, we do think about it, but yeah, it's down to individual player demonstration skill and how comfortable we are with it. Because it's new to us, and like you said with the weapons, you raised a really, really good point, because we did see comments, some people where new moves were very obvious.
Yeah, and then some
whereas other weapons, there's these nuances. So for example, sword and shield, you can walk around while you're attacking now. You're sidestepping and walking around. The mobility has gone to another level. And I think when I very first touched the weapon, I was like, oh my god, I'm walking around while I'm swinging.
I didn't even
This
know
is
that was a
amazing.
thing, to be fair.
Yeah,
That's
you can
awesome.
walk
That's
around.
so
Yeah,
cool.
so you sidestep and walk around while you're doing a combo. So you've got that, and on top of that as well, you've got what used to be a separate switch skill in Rise, is now you have both. You have the overhead attack, and you can do the slide attack across the ground, depending on what button inputs you do. So, you know, some weapons have got all these flashy new moves. All weapons have some new moves, but others have these little nuances that when you play yourself, or if you watch a content creator that happens to like be that weapon main and they end up doing it, you will see it. So for those that might be a little bit worried that they've not seen a ton of coverage on their weapon, or that what they have seen looks very familiar, don't worry. Everyone is cooking. And I'm not just saying, because I know it will come and bite me in the bum if that wasn't true, right? But like, it really is.
Well, that's the perspective that I was looking for, and I think a lot of people there's a lot of concern about certain weapons not getting as much attention or footage, and people wanting to see this stuff. And then there's the level of like, hey, you know, I'm watching someone play and I'm not seeing everything. Like myself, I played the dual blades, I read all the information I could beforehand and prepped myself as much as I can, and I had no idea that the new demon dodge has a new follow-up when you press triangle after landing it to do like a little extended spin. I had no idea, and there's loads of stuff like that you know, whenever we get to actually sink our teeth in for more than 30 minutes or 30 seconds as it feels, you get that chance. But it's nice to have lots to look forward to and question and discuss anyway. And that's why at the next events and whenever the game's shown again, whenever you're able to show new stuff, people are aware that you're thinking about that stuff, basically.
Yeah, you know, one thing I can't really give like specifics about it, but you know, when we were talking to the team, like, you know, in the last year or so, or even beyond that, like. And we're just asking the team questions about the game and just like trying to get a better sense of like what big changes have been made. Those are the kind of questions we asked them about, like specific weapons. Like, hey, the community had a concern about this weapon in a previous game. Like, have there been changes made to that? And those are the things that we try to explore with them and like have discussions. And more often than not, I think we find out that like they knew about a lot of these things already, or they were already aware, and they're like, yeah, we paid special attention to that or things like that. So. That's always like really great for us to see, because it shows that they have such a great lead.
Yeah, it's great to hear that. Yeah,
that actually leads me nicely to, you guys are like the bridge between what we're all saying and thinking, and then the team, right? So like anything like major or feedback back and forth, I assume that happens fairly regularly. Is what's it like when people are coming up with, I mean, obviously not me, but theories on various aspects of the game, or like really like critical things that they've noticed? Is there like a moment where you're like, look how far off this guy, oh my god, or ones where it's like, has he got the game? How does he know this? And do you ever like feed that back to like, oh my god, they've actually got this pretty accurate, isn't that correct? Like, what's that like?
Well, first of all, I guess Joe and I discuss, so we'll both have a jump on this one, because basically, first of all, it's a privilege that we have such a passionate community that kind of share these things and are so invested in the game that they, you know, come up with these ideas and see where we're going to try and read between the lines and things. But we're very lucky as community managers, and as Joe mentioned when in the previous segment, they really care about the community. They really do. They really value community. They value community feedback and sentiment, and they check out things. But Joe and I, each week, so we have 2 meetings with the team every week, a European focus one, or EMEA focus one, and a more North American one. And we meet with the team in Japan, and we share our feedback, sentiment reports that Joe and I build together, region-specific things, global things. We go directly to the team, and they want to know. They want to know, like, what have people liked about, say, a new trailer? What have they liked about this information? What haven't they liked? What kind of things should we explore more to share with the community? So we're incredibly lucky as community managers to work with a team that love community as much as we do and value it. So it's always great to share, you know, hey, like, for example, when we obviously baby pukei was, you know, spotted in a trailer by the thing.
Yeah.
Joe and I did a big sentiment report about the trailer, but we also had a little section with fan art of baby pukei and Gemma, and the team were like, yeah, we saw that with the Japanese community too, and with the Western community and things like that. So it's incredibly nice, and it's easy to share stuff with the team and to talk about it with the team, and I think that pays dividends. So when people are sharing feedback, good and constructive, you know, we do pass it over, and it also shows that those that do share it in a way that is palatable for us to pass on, it does go up the line. And if you're mean, it makes me and Joe sad, and it probably won't end up in the PowerPoint. So
Yeah,
we don't want that.
Go easy on.
Yeah, it's always tough to see stuff like that, of course. And you being like a filter for that information, I can understand it's difficult. Whenever we do anything, we get plenty of negative feedback too, whether it's fair or not. Sometimes it is, a lot of the time it's not. We feel for you on that for sure.
Yeah, I think the filter part is pretty important. We've had conversations in the past sometimes with the team where they might be feeling one way about something, or like their take on maybe how like the reaction was to something might be different than how we're feeling and how we're representing our communities. So we try to bridge that gap with them and like kind of explain like, oh no, we actually thought this was a really strong beat and people really like this. And that's the important thing for us, is to really kind of represent like the cultural difference, which is important because you guys know like Monster Hunter is just absolutely massive in Japan, and it's really has been growing in this kind of global I guess like global community, which has become so much bigger with World and since then. And for us, it's really like, how do we like kind of manage like breaking out into that mainstream, right? Where like people are coming from different communities, they have preconceived conceptions from other games that they might be playing that are not Monster Hunter games, and trying to like bridge that gap with the team. That's been a really interesting challenge, and I think it's also something that we dealt with on Dragon's Dogma, where we had like such a core group of Dogma fans, and there's people coming from like just other communities, other games, and they're just it's just different. So for us, that's really the challenge, to try and filter out some of those reactions and that information.
I mean, just because you mentioned Dragon's Dogma 2 real quick, the bow in Wilds obviously getting
Focus mode.
It's the magic archer, right? Like there's some inspiration.
We can't comment on that at all.
No, okay, I know.
Obviously, Capcom is one big happy family of developers, and there's so much shared knowledge, and the RE engine is very personal.
Yeah.
Shared with teams, so.
It's honestly awesome to see something that was like, oh, that's a cool mechanic when I played Dragon's Dogma. Seeing that in any other game, and even if it's a different form, is great. And for people who might not realize, the focus mode, you can attack the wounds with it, but the new arc shot, for example, you put these like what do you call them? They're not explosive arrows, but they're like a type that you can pop, and then you're able to aim at those as well, and it's not just wounds. So it is significantly different to how the magic archer works in Dragon's Dogma, to be clear.
Yeah. It's just when people see that, like,
as soon as I think that was the initial like hot
Yeah.
take. As soon as that circles, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. And then also leading into like the fast dragon piercer off of that combo thing. There's more to it
so
than that.
Yeah, the tracer arrow as well.
Yeah, the
that was
tracer arrow is
someone who doesn't
amazing.
use bow. That's something that made me sit up and go,
Hold on a minute.
That happened a lot, especially when the weapon trailers are coming out. Like, obviously, I'm a little bit one-minded when it comes to weapons I use. I've been known to favour great swords.
Are you going to just use 2 great swords? Wow, is this what you're
I am 100% going to use 2 great swords.
Yeah.
1 sleep great sword and then 1 wake great sword.
Great sword.
Yeah. But as each trailer for each weapon came out, like there's an initial reaction of, okay, I like this weapon, that's fine, let's see what's going on. And then I'd watch it, I was like, oh my god, I actually kind of really want to play that now. That's ridiculous. Like there was so much instant impact with so many of the new tools that were showing off. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially when they do like the little montage at the end of each.
Yes,
videos,
like
do,
analyzing
the
each of those little free frames. It's like,
there's like a 5-second stretch where they just do a bunch of crazy stuff that you've never seen before. I'm like, oh my god. Run it again.
Yeah, literally. I mean, to look to the future a little bit then, obviously, very recently, as of the time we're having this conversation, we know we're getting Scarlet Forest gameplay for the first time. What's up with that?
Yeah, you want to jump on that, Jonno?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, as you saw at Gamescom and at PAX as well with the panel, the devs are all about showing stuff off live, community engagement. This is the game. And at TGS, the team are going to be showing off Scarlet Forest gameplay live for the very first time, which is incredibly exciting.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see what's in there
cool
for us
zone.
and things. And as part of that, so shameless self-plug, Joe and I will be doing like a watch party. So it's going to be in Japanese, and then we'll be working with our business services team, doing a co-stream, kind of localizing it a bit into English and kind of talking through it. So it's at 5 a.m.
I was about to say it's 5 a.m. I'll be there. I'll be there with you.
Yeah, I guess I was going to say you guys will probably be.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
What time is it
that's
for the States?
It's a Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific. Which
that's so nice. That's all
like,
right. Yeah, nice little evening.
Start to relax.
We're gonna be like,
stream.
wow, my god.
Yeah, this is something we're pretty excited about. I know that the hours are not like a great viewing times for some Western regions, but the team is showing off some really cool content. I think this was something that, even though it is very Japan centric, it is a first reveal, and there's going to be some pretty cool stuff. So I think this is something that we really want to be able to bring to our audiences. So I think this is going to be something really cool. So hopefully everybody tunes in.
Yeah, 100%. And even though the timing might be bad for EU audience, it's like being able to get up and watch that back and have that any translation, any clarification. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And we debated, I think, for a bit of like how we want to approach this. Like if we like, hey, should we just like maybe we'll get it after like the weekend or something, or maybe like give it a few days, or maybe we do a reaction like as a VOD or something like that. But I think like we really wanted this to be live, like in the moment, because the content is really good. So that was really important to us to be able to do it like alongside what happens.
Yeah, I just want to say this experience has been so different as we've gone from the games to games. Like say everything with the Rise coverage and everything. This just feels like they're taking it so seriously and giving all these opportunities. And you guys are doing so much, and like having a live show and then a panel was like, wow, this is like back to back. That was amazing for us as creators to be able to talk about and have information, and knowing that they're doing this reveal now at the next one. It's just like I feel spoiled in a way. It's weird.
Yeah, the world tour is serious. Like right now, the team is at TwitchCon right now, and there's going to be some streams over the weekend. I couldn't make it to TwitchCon this year. My wife and I are expecting a child anytime soon, so
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, but it also means like I can't travel, so the team is working real hard on that. So kudos to everybody that's working hard. So there's been so many events, and like the team has just been like, I think both across Europe and EMEA and the US, and everybody's just been working super hard on the game. So it's been great to see. I think the energy is helping us, like all the reactions. Like nobody wants to work on a game that nobody cares about, right? So
we've had a totally different experience with it too. It's given us an excuse to kind of speak to other people in our space, the creator space. We've had a lot of conversations we wouldn't normally have, because basically it's brought us together in that way as well. It's really interesting.
And to be fair, even for us, go on.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I was just going to comment on the energizing thing, because even for us as creators that obviously love Monster Hunter, having all of this happen and the community being a buzz and all of the little reveals that are going on, it really does feel like I've just got endless both energy and inspiration to talk about it and make stuff, because more than anything, I just really do love Monster Hunter. Obviously, I started with literally the first game back on PS2, which feels like a lifetime ago now, because it kind of was, where the hardest monster was the controls. But now it's just like we have obviously we organize the videos we want to make and stuff, and there was a point where over the period of Gamescom where it was just Wilds my name, Wilds my name, Wilds my name, just like 7. It was like I don't care, I just want to talk about everything I want to talk about, and I think it is cool that happens across every level when we look at the Monster Hunter community.
Yeah, and same. And I think what I love about, like, for example, this upcoming live stream is the whole global community are going to be seeing this together. There's going to be stuff, because say they're playing it live, and already from what we said about the Gamescom and Summer Games Fest, there's stuff happening that devs like, whoa, this is cool. So everyone watching and everyone that watches after, there's going to be cool stuff. We're all going to be in it together. The reactions are going to be genuine. This isn't, like something that we've known about for months and stuff. We're going into this together, and it's going to be something the community are going to experience together, whether they're a player, someone new into the series that's like, hey, Wilds looks cool, or a content creator. We're all going to be like, whoa. And I can't wait to see what happens.
It's so exciting.
And I think that's really special about how this is going, and it's testament to the community, because the community allows us to do this type of engagement and this type of community activity because of how they are with us, and by us I mean the team in general, how they share their feedback, and overall, I mean, no community is perfect, but the overall positivity and how the community conducts themselves allows us to have this kind of outreach and stuff, and I think that's really special. So, really appreciate the kind words about the team and the community side of things, but it's definitely a two-way street, and the community, being as they are as a whole, allows these things to happen. So when Joe and I were told, we were like, okay, so it's happening. You can do it if you want. It is at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. like on a Friday, Saturday. We just like, yeah, all right, let's say no more.
Yeah, I totally feel that. So as soon as like 5 a.m., it's like, okay, opening up the schedule, 5 a.m. Me.
On a Saturday, no less.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, to look even further to the future, just for a little bit of fun, normally I'd be like, what monster do you want to come in Wilds? But, that's a subject you can't really go crazy on, obviously. So, something maybe a little bit more niche is Gamescom recently. Yoshida, the director of Final Fantasy XIV, spoke about the Behemoth collab in Iceborne and how much he liked it and all of that stuff, and he was obviously like, yeah, I'd love to do more, and obviously that's not any kind of confirmation or anything like that, just to quickly get that out the way. But just seeing it made me think about it again, like, yeah, Behemoth was fantastic, and obviously there is a world where something collab happens with Wild, because that tends to be a thing in Monster Hunter. So just completely out there, if you could just choose any kind of creature from any other game to hunt in Monster Hunter, what would you go for?
If we could hunt anything in Monster Hunter, then
you could put anything across.
The hunters.
Because he wrote one in Bahamut, which seems insane. But
I'm a Devil May Cry fiend, so I want to see Devil May Cry everywhere. Like, I loved the collab in World.
Yeah.
So like, I would probably want some boss from Devil May Cry. Like, yes, please. That would be really quite fun. But yeah, I'm just saying, once again, this isn't any
speculation. This is pure fun speculation.
Like,
just big flashing text speculation.
I saw like the anime trailer has just come out as well for Devil May Cry, so it's like right at the front of my head. Like,
that's so cool to see as well. Yeah,
on my screen. Like, so Monster Hunter and DMC is my jam. So like. Yeah, so I'll be like, something Devil May Cry.
That's fair enough.
What if we put like something that's more humanoid? Like what if it's like
like
Mr. X or something, or like Mr. X or Ari, or I don't know, like Lady D or something. I don't know. Before she transforms, if she could transform mid-hunt.
Yeah,
it's just all.
I mean, obviously,
something like that would be incredible.
What about you guys?
To keep it Capcom-y, I do think maybe the obvious answer of the literal dragon from Dragon's Dogma would be a really fun thing to actually hunt in a Monster Hunter way. Like, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would fit perfectly. Of course it would.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. I think that's a good answer. Obviously, I think the theme there is a lot of Capcom-y things, because what's nice about those answers is they're all like, not possible, but it's like, if you were going to pick anything from the same like grouping, that's smart. I'm not sure, honestly. I have to think about it.
Just a random Street Fighter character, rocks up. All right,
yeah.
Here goes the hunt.
Just perfect.
What would you guys choose outside of Capcom?
Oh. That's quite a difficult one. I mean, I feel like you'd go for something Soulsy.
Like
a random dragon.
I didn't want to say.
Souls, yeah. It does. I mean, it doesn't feel like a completely unnatural, like it's, two games where you roll around a monster.
The communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And there's loads of monster related, like even like the Red Wolf of Radagon, something super hyper, kind of like Odogaron kind of vibe. That would be cool.
Yeah, I think that's one. See, for me, it's awkward because my dream Monster Hunter collab was Witcher, and that happened.
You got it. Yeah.
So I was like, yep, that's fine. I'm done now. Yeah. So I really don't have a good second answer for it outside of the Dragon's Dogma one.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of like Bahamut, because that's like it's super unique. Like it's a dragon that's like stood up like humanoid, like quite different. So cool idea.
Yeah, I think that's really fun. I mean, before we get towards the kind of ending up of this, I mean, just open the floor, anything you want to say about Wilds and related things?
Oh, that's a good question. So much to talk about. I mean, I think, like, it's the next generation of Monster Hunter, and I think it really feels special, as someone that, loves the series and is obviously working on it. It really does feel special, and I think seeing all the love from the community, and as well as other people from other game communities that are also checking it out, has been incredible. And honestly, I say we have seen the tip of the iceberg in regards to what's been shown off with the Windward Plains, and I'm incredibly excited for all of us as we get ready to see a bit more of the Scarlet Forest. Yeah, it's a great time to be a hunter, and it's a great time to get into being a hunter. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think it's when you've been working in the industry for a while, it can become a little easy to become desensitized to like seeing cool things, right? But each time we see something new for this game, I'm like just as excited as I was like the first day I was like working on it, and that's like the best part. It's like you just think that they can't top themselves, and they just somehow manage to do it, and like it like feels good to be part of that. I know that's like maybe like poking the hype train too much, but like
no,
I really do feel that way. Like I think like each time we see something, it's just like, wow, this game is for real. Like they have really stepped it up, and it's just it's really exciting. So it's a pleasure to work on this franchise and a pleasure to work on this game. We're super excited for the future, and it's just an honor to be part of it.
Yeah, I really feel that, because obviously the jump from 4th gen to 5th with World was a complete change of everything. The open maps, entirely new way of monster huntering, and that was a really special time. And a part of me thought that kind of level couldn't really happen again, because like surely we're not just going to get a complete revamp of Monster Hunter in that sense. But it does feel like somehow that's managed to instantly happen again. Like Wilds is so much more than World 2 from everything we've seen and played of it, and it somehow inexplicably we are getting this kind of again moment with Monster Hunter that you can just feel that it's going to be...
It's a real high right now.
Yeah, you can feel that it's going to be a special game, like just intrinsically, and that's so awesome.
Yeah, and we got crossplay now as well.
Yeah,
like I know
that's like the number one like community gimmick crossplay.
Yeah,
so nice to have that.
Yeah, like not only have the team cooked with the game itself, but also a little outside the box is now everyone's going to be able to play together, no matter what platform is your preferred one. And I think that's really special, and especially from a community-focused angle, I'm incredibly excited about that as well. So
it's always been a barrier.
Gates open, come in moment.
Yeah.
Just
definitely.
seeing that journey.
And we have simultaneous launch, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. Like, I obviously back when I played, I was still in the new Monster Hunter's just come out in Japan. I guess I'm going to wait a year for the Western release, and even then we might not get all of them. And now we've got to the point where it's this really more global thing. We're getting a simultaneous release, multiple platforms, crossplay. Everyone's in on it, and it's really cool to see that happen. Like, honestly, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a massive step forward. I mean, even separate from like West versus East release times, me being a PC player when I was playing World just meant that I was behind on the updates. You guys were getting the updates on console, and then I was waiting. And now it's like, oh wow, if I want to play with my friends who are just on console and I'm on PC, I can finally do that. And that's been like a wall, even with us when you were playing on console and I was playing on PC. Now that it's really reached that state of like harmony or whatever you want to call it, it's opened the doors for a lot of people who might have been interested, but just were like, I'll wait until they do this. Like, it's a big moment.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter, it's fully a self-contained solo game. If you want it to be in it can be an incredible one. But for example, I play it as a social experience, and it has this incredible social experience to it. And now that everyone's little social bubbles can come together, it's really, really cool. And something that I really liked about Monster Hunter when I first got into it many years ago was how you communicate initially. Obviously, use stickers and emotes and things like that.
So wave at each other.
You can communicate with other players from anywhere in the world using any languages that you don't speak. using stickers and emotes, and you get what each other means.
Yeah,
You can express emotion. Obviously now, in modern gaming, like in World, you got like voice chat and stuff like that. But like, the fact that people can come together and enjoy the game at another level with crossplay feels really, really cool. And it's good because I spend my working day on my PC, so I like to casually game more so on a console. So it's nice. I think, Joe, you're a PC gamer, right?
I play on both, I guess. I'm still deciding where I'm going to play Wilds. Is it PC or PS5? I don't know.
What was your first monster to game out of interest, Joe?
I dabbled with Try, and that was like where I kind of like bounced off a little bit, and then it took until like 3U for me to really like come back and for it to click with me. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Been
Yeah,
around
starting
for a while, but,
with the underwater
yeah,
is always a fun one when someone says that's their first monster. So usually I like to be like, hey, what's your prediction for how many new monsters we're going to get? But I feel like you guys it might not be the best one to ask, because you're either going to say 5,000, so it's clearly wrong, or 0, so it's clearly wrong. So you actually kind of ironically answered what I'm about to ask that I've got written down, but I'm going to still say it anyway. Am I not a million miles away by saying that what we've seen so far really is just the tip of the iceberg? You did literally say it yourself while you were before, so I was just planning on asking that, but I wanted to put it across anyway.
Like,
you don't have to say anything, just look at their faces to the expression change.
What we've seen so far is a small preview, early build. We've seen a few trailers, which is cool, but we're having the appetizer.
That's
we're just
what it
having a little
feels
nibble
like
at the moment. So things are progressing, as said, with TGS coming up and the Scarlet Forest and things like that. And even then, what's shown, there's a lot more, like with the weapons, for example, like people were discovering what you can do with the longsword when you're in the red gauge, and we hadn't shown that off before. So there's a lot of stuff we're showing. There's other things people will find out, basically. Sorry, Joe.
I think like a good way to think of it is we've only really shown the first area in the game for most of like the stuff that we've been showing. So try to like extrapolate that out to like a full size game with multiple locales, right? So you've seen Scarlet Forest. Yeah, the funny thing was like when we showed the Windward Plains, everyone was like, "Is this game just like brown all the time?"
Yeah, there was a really weird amount of people that were like, "Wow, the whole game is the Windward Plain."
Yeah, you like sand.
Yeah, you like sand and lightning, because you're gonna get sand and lightning.
It's like, no, this is a Monster Hunter game. There's definitely
different locales.
Yeah, I think that's why it will be really cool to see some Scarlet Forest. It's like, of course, we've got some jungly green stuff. It's Monster Hunter,
I'm super interested to see what other kind of stuff with the weather, and all this kind of...
Yeah, how that affects other locales.
Apex monster and how that's tied to each weather system and how that works. And then obviously you've got whole classic systems, the skill systems and stuff that we've not seen any of, really. There's loads. But I still hope... I like what you said there in that we're showing stuff, and then people are getting hands-on and learning totally new stuff. It's great to be like, here's this awesome stuff, and also you might find stuff that we've just not shown. Like, that's my favorite way to learn about anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still can't believe we don't have the flagship yet. Honestly, it's so weird. Because like the first thing we saw of like Sunbreak was a little tease of Malzeno, and it just feels so drip feedy. But I really like that. I have to say, I do kind of side with the more that's a mystery when you first go in, the better. Obviously, we don't really get that ability to do that because we have to know what's happening as much as we can and talk about it, which is why I am very jealous of Khan. Honestly, it might be hard to stay blind, but that's really cool that he's going to get that when we eventually do the Pro and New. But it does feel like it is really building like in a much more organic way, as opposed to bam, here's a 3-minute trailer with 12 monsters, the flagship, okay, you're good, which has happened a little bit in the past. So yeah, I really can't wait to see what's next, however it's revealed and whenever it's revealed.
Yeah, it's funny when we revealed Raydal.
It's like everyone's like, flagship, right? Definitely flagship.
Yeah, is that the flagship? We're sitting there like, oh, no.
That's the cool thing about the monster design, so the fact that the team can pop out a monster. And
that's actually got to be,
is this flagship question mark kind of thing. That's and this is the first kind of regional Apex that we've shown off, and people are like, this monster is so damn cool, it has to be a flagship.
Yeah, that is quite a good mark for it, isn't it? That's really awesome, and it is damn cool.
I'm sure the monster design team were like, oh, that's not
you guys. Anything lastly for you, Hollow?
No, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's just been a great talk, and I really appreciate your time and doing something like this. It's a really big opportunity for us. We really appreciate it. Really nice. We hope to see more of you in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much for both of you being here. Like, it is really lovely. Like, outside of anything, it's just fun to talk to you guys as Monster Hunter fans. So it's been great.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been a pleasure. I have not had the chance to meet you guys in person.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
Eventually.
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 It's been great getting to chat. I've been a fan of your guys' content, so you guys have been making good stuff. So.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, same. We've had the lucky enough to hang out together back in the Sunbreak days. So no, it's a ton of fun. And once again, thank you for the content you do for the community, and inviting us on to talk to yourselves and sharing it with your community as well. Really appreciate it, and it's a really exciting time. It's been a ton of fun chatting today as well. And I'm excited to for Joe and I to chat more yourselves as we move forward.
Yeah, definitely.
And it'd be nice to know that at 5 a.m.
I'll be there.
We'll be there.
I'll be there. You won't be there.
So you better message me, like, wow, that was cool. Or something.
I'll just schedule a message
really
and fall
tired.
asleep. All right. Well, yes, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks once again for being here, you guys. And until next time, goodbye.
Thanks very much.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.